Happy New Year! It's 2026 and as it's the first podcast episode for the year, I thought I'd share with you a little peek behind the scenes at 3 things I'm doing differently in 2026 and why. I've got 3 very specific ways that I'm changing things up and I'm so excited to share them with you in today's episode of the podcast. Hopefully it inspires something for you as well. And I've got a couple of resources I'll be sharing with you, so make sure that you come and check out the show notes of today's episode over at tashcorbin.com/501 because this is episode number 501 of the Heart Centered Business Podcast. Let's dive in and let me share with you 3 things I'm going to be doing differently in 2026. Hello, I'm Tash Corbin, a business strategist and mentor based on the Sunshine Coast in Australia. The mission of this podcast is to help heart-centered entrepreneurs to make more money and in doing so, change the world for the better. This podcast was recorded on the lands of the Gubbi Gubbi and Jinnaburra people. Always was, always will be Aboriginal land. Let's dive into the first way that I'm going to be doing things differently in 2026. And that is I'm going to be more prolific, I'm going to be louder, I'm going to show up more, and you're going to hear a lot more from me. And this might seem like it's the same, but just a little more expanded to you, but actually it's quite different and it feels really different as well. There's a different energy behind it. I think in the past, whenever I've been fired up to be more vocal, whenever I've been fired up to be louder, it's come from wanting to maybe speak up against something or be an alternative to something that I'm not happy about in the industry. And so it's been quite industry focused. It's been driven by this desire to change the face of what we think of when we think of CEOs of businesses, putting more money and financial power into the hands of women and marginalised people. Those things are still very much a big part of what I do and why I do it. I'm still very passionate about consent-based marketing and consent-based business, but I'm going to be showing up differently in 2026 because I'm going to be far more focused on speaking to the individual. I want to help tens of thousands of people to access more economic wealth, to get far clearer on where the gaps are in their business strategy, to get far clearer on how they can, with very short, sharp changes to the way that they market, the way that they do their sales, the products that they're selling, the messaging changes, right? By focusing on what are those leverage points in your business where small effort equals big shift in results. That is the focal point. And that's what I'm fired up to get loud about, because I just see far too many people who are confused, who are going around in circles, who are spreading themselves thin, who are jumping from strategy to strategy, thinking that each one is going to be better than the last, and all it's doing is keeping them stuck. It's keeping them limited in terms of their resourcing. It's keeping them busy. It's keeping them stuck at a certain income level. And part of the reason why I'm so fired up for this, I think, actually comes from the fact that I witnessed a lot of people in 2025 who left their partner, but it was a real struggle and a challenge, and they had to really think about it because of the financial instability and insecurity that they had. I also know of several people who want to leave their partner and they don't have the financial resources to do that, let alone to be able to do that from a very empowered, very confident space. And also, I just know of so many people who have these spectacular goals and dreams, or this work that needs to be out in the world. And the number one reason why it's not is resourcing, financial resourcing. So because I can see so much that we are robbed of in the world because of a lack of financial security and stability. And also, I can see so many people trapped in situations that are not the right situation for them. I see so many people who want to make big changes in their lives, want to do things differently. And the key to all of that existing, to people being able to do what they want, people being able to live the life that they desire, is financial. And I feel like I'm coming from a very privileged place because I can see exactly what they need. And that's because I am degree qualified in business. I have experience in consulting. I've been doing this since 2013 in my own business, but since the early 2000s in other people's businesses. I have the privilege of the resourcing. I have the privilege of the capacity to be able to help. And I'm going to use it. I'm going to be louder. I'm going to be more prolific. I'm going to show up far more consistently. And I'm going to be very driven to helping as many people as I can. And I think part of that also comes from a little bit of that observation of the industry. There's been a huge shift in the industry over the last few years with that economic contraction that we've seen. And there's been recession in some countries. There's been, a lot of job loss. There's been a lot of cost of living increases. And the people who are most impacted by all of that are often what we would describe as working class people. And in particular for me, I have the privilege of being able to help people to access entrepreneurship as a method of getting financial resourcing, of stepping away from limitations that keep them trapped in working in a job that doesn't necessarily feel fulfilled and aligned for them. But I also have this privilege of I have the audience and I can grow the audience by sharing and supporting with the existing audience. And that is what I'm going to do. So I really want to contribute to change. I want to contribute to financial and economic resilience. And I want to ensure that we don't go down the path that sometimes happens when there's economic contraction or cost of living challenges. And that is that people fall for a lot of get-rich-quick stuff. People can be very convinced that it's all in their head. It's all a mindset issue. I'm not at all dismissing or discrediting that there can be mindset and energetic limitations that we place upon ourselves, and that improving our capacity to receive and keep money is an important part of what we do. Absolutely. But also there's fundamental foundational business strategy decisions that are not being made. And you can do all the energetic alignment in the world that you want to, but if you don't know how to attract and convert clients, if you don't know how to fill your lead management system with high quality, well-qualified leads as a business owner, it doesn't matter how much of the mindset work you do, you're going to still be under-resourced. You're going to still struggle to bring in that and generate that income. And so I am going to be very vocal about hardcore, proven business strategy. I'm going to be very vocal about finding and fixing the gaps in your client attraction process. I'm going to be very vocal about having really strongly validated lead generation strategies so that you, if you ever need to make 3 or 4 sales quickly, you know exactly how to go and generate leads to make those sales. You know exactly how to ask qualifying questions that get the right people leaning in. You know exactly what your go-to strategy is when you need to have a cheeky little $10,000 week. And you've got that at your disposal, because that is absolutely available to everyone, but not if you haven't validated your foundations. We need a very strong set of foundations underneath us in order to be able to thrive, in order to be able to have those times where we have surges in income, because we've got that stability underneath us and we know there is validated demand for the work that we do. We know that the messaging we share is validated. The offers we are promoting are validated because you made sales of those offers using your validated messaging and your validating marketing strategies, lead generation strategies, conversion strategies. Not because, oh, I really need to make 10 grand this week. I'll go and do some posts on social media. I will go and try and find some strangers on the internet because those strangers are the least likely to buy from you. And I haven't been as vocal and prolific in sharing that message as I could have been. And can you tell I'm fired up to share it now? And that is exactly what I'm going to do. So that is number one of the things I'm going to be doing differently. Louder. I'm going to be here more often. I'm going to be far more prolific. But I'm also going to stand on my zone of genius. And my zone of genius is rigorous, validated strategy. Rigorous, validated foundations. Niching, messaging, offer craft, client attraction processes, lead generation, conversion strategies. I am so good at this stuff. It is my zone of genius. And I really do, upon reflection, feel like in the last 3 or 4 years, I might have been a little swayed by trying to respond to problematic strategy advice or messaging that said that it doesn't matter what your strategy is, your mindset is wobbly. And as long as you're aligned with the mindset of a millionaire, you'll magically make $1 million. And again, please don't come after me saying that I'm going after the mindset peeps. I'm not. But I also do want to be very upfront and say that there are a lot of predatory practices out there that will have you convinced that the problem is just you and you need to change who you are. You need to change what you're energetically aligned to. You need to change your mindset. You need to change your programming. You need to change everything about yourself, and don't worry about the strategy. That will just fall into your lap. And that is absolutely not true. And I've seen far too many people get caught up in this cycle of buying the next thing, the next thing, the next thing, all of which promise to have them making lots of money, but none of which are built on rigorous, validated marketing and sales strategies. And so I'm going to show up far more prolifically. I am going to be far more vocal, and I am going to be the champion of the strategic decision making, the marketing strategy, the sales strategy that I know is the rule, not the exception. Because going viral on TikTok and that resulting in tens of thousands of dollars in sales is the exception. It's not the rule. It's not. And so I don't want people building their expectations up for this huge monumental cash windfall based on a strategy that will come off 1 out of every 100,000 times. That's not validated. That's not reliable. That's not security or stability. It's not going to create the financial independence and reliability and resilience to things like cost of living increases the way that validated, reliable growth, marketing, sales strategy does. So prepare yourself, strap yourself in for a lot more strategy conversations. The second thing I'm going to be doing differently in 2026 is staying home. And it sounds really weird to say, but I am craving stability, routine, and being at home a little more. Part of it is likely because in 2025, we moved house in February, March, and in the first 4 months of being in the home we're in now, we were actually only home 21 nights out of 4 months. So we spent 3 weeks at home in the first 4 months of living in this house. And so we never really settled in that first early portion. But also when I look at my calendar, when I look at travel, even in my app where I book hotels, we had 4 times the number of hotel stays in 2025 as we did in 2024. And in 2024, I was already feeling like we weren't home a lot. And so this year, I really want to be more mindful about the travel that I say yes to, about the events that I say yes to. I was a Facebook ads creator's dream for event ads in 2025 because I would see an ad for a stand-up comedian and I would just book tickets. I would see an ad for a paint and sip class and I would just book tickets. And so I clearly was craving a bit of time outside the house, or I was trying to avoid being at my desk or being in the house as much. Maybe I was feeling a little unsettled in the house that we were in. But whatever the reason, I am really craving being at home far more. And even just being really mindful about what we do say yes to. Part of the reason I think that that is also coming up is because David and I are going to Europe in April and May. And because we've got that big trip ahead of us this year, I just think a lot of those little things don't feel as abundant and adventurous as they used to, or they don't feel like they're a right fit for this year. So things that we normally would just go to every single year, we're being far more mindful and making more thought out and considered decisions about whether that's actually the right thing for us to do just because we did it before. Instead, now we're just really considering it. And even things that we like to do every year, we've decided to potentially start doing those every second year or every third year. It gives us a chance to look forward to them a little more, and it gives us a bit more spaciousness in our calendars and that time at home as well. We went to the Formula One twice in 2025. We went once in Melbourne and once in Singapore, and that was amazing and luxurious and abundant and like so fabulous. But we were just assuming we'd go to the Formula One in Melbourne again in 2026, and we've made the decision not to. And it feels really good to make the decision not to go this time. So I'm really excited for time at home a little more in 2026 and just being a little bit more mindful of what else gets added to the calendar. So, you know, David and I have had some big conversations about whether it feels like staying home might be more abundant at certain times of year versus going to things we would normally go to. And also, we've still got plenty in the calendar to look forward to. I'm still going to Emma Vega Malta's conference, the Creative Business Summit in Kiama at the end of July. We're going on a family trip in early April, and then in mid to late April, we go to Europe. We get back from that in May. Then I'm going on retreat down in northern New South Wales, southern Gold Coast. I think it's northern New South Wales, somewhere down on the border there, Kings Cliffy area. And so I've still got plenty in the calendar. We've got Noosa for the Heart Centre Business Conference in September. So there's still plenty of like sort of those bigger events. And as a sponsor of the Sunshine Coast Lightning, I go to the home games of the netball. So there's still plenty in there, but I think it's just those more on a whim things or a couple of nights away here and there where it just doesn't feel like it's the choice for us. So we'll be staying home a little more in 2026, and that's fabulous. I'm really looking forward to that. And in the past, I think it would have felt like, oh, we have to because, you know, we need to sort of knuckle down, or we need to be a bit more boundaried, or I don't have the capacity because I'm not well. But actually, I think it's the opposite now. I felt so much more energized in 2025. I felt well so much more of the year compared to the year before and the year before that indefinitely. And so I felt like I had this capacity to go out and do more things. So I felt like I needed to go out and do more things. Whereas now I'm definitely still feeling that energy. I'm still feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm so much better in terms of health and well-being, in terms of my energy compared to previous years. But rather than just use that as a free-for-all ticket to go out and do absolutely everything and try and burn up all of this energy that I haven't had in such a long time, I'm being far more conscious of those choices. And I also just have a lot of stuff that I want to do at home. I want to spend more time swimming in our pool. I want to spend more time reading out by the pool. We've got some amazing, beautiful new furniture that we got for Christmas. And I just want to spend more time at home, and I'm leaning into it. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. I'm looking forward to seeing what the decisions we make actually then lead to in terms of, okay, well, I'm home for that whole week. What could I get myself up to while I'm at home? Maybe I'll record more podcasts because I'm going to be more prolific in 2026. Maybe those two things are aligned. Very easy. All right. Now, the third and final thing that I'm going to be doing very differently in 2026 is I am going to be relentless in my pursuit of ongoing list growth, both organic and paid strategies. I want to attract more and more people onto my mailing list. And part of the reason for that is that it wasn't something I did very well in 2025. I had issues with Facebook ads being glitchy, and I couldn't get Facebook ads running for my first launch of the year. Then it felt like it was a bit late. And then I thought I need a technical helper to actually help me get some of this stuff set up. But then that got delayed. Also, I had some access issues with my Facebook. And so I ended up going to Meta Verified. And so I was already spending money on Meta. And then I experimented here and there with some ads, and I did have some set up here and there, but just nowhere near what I'm used to doing. And also I was far more easily sort of deterred from doing list growth actions this year, and especially any paid list growth strategies, advertising, those sorts of things. So, there was partly a reason in relation to having some challenges with that in 2025, but also, I also felt like I was constantly away from home when things were going wrong. And so my capacity to sort it out and fix it was hindered. Maybe that's also part of the reason why I'm craving more time at home. But I just didn't have the support that I needed on the technical front. I was easily deterred when things went wrong. I was more often away from home when things were going wrong. And so I'm really excited that I've got some help already. So in late 2025, I engaged someone who would help me tidy up and clean up a bunch of broken stuff in my advertising. So that's all been taken care of. I've got another session with that person to do a little bit more of the tidy up. I've also hired a semi-permanent team member who's going to be the person who does all the split testing and, be basically a partner for me in getting the list growth strategies set up and rocking and rolling. And I've also, as part of setting that intention for 2026, already in the first couple of days of the year, got my organic strategies set up. I've done a bunch of content set up and content creation. I'm feeling so much more in advance in my planning for this year, especially around content and especially around list growth. So it's feeling like these solid foundations underneath me are starting to come together. And so I have that sense of, okay, now it's time to really ramp up list growth, particularly paid list growth, but also on the organic side as well. I'm not just going to be focused on meta ads this year for list growth though. And I definitely want to double down on what works. And I know meta ads definitely work for me. So I'm not going to be experimenting with a lot of other strategies at the expense of my meta ads. That's kind of my baseline foundation. Hence why I've got a new team member to make sure that that is taken care of. But I am going to experiment with some other paid advertising options for list growth because I want to be able to share with you what I find. And this again circles back to point number one, that I want to be able to share rigorous, validated marketing strategies with you more and more. And the last time I ran Google ads, for example, was 6 years ago. It was pre-COVID. The last time I did LinkedIn advertising was probably 2019, 2018. And at the time, I found that it wasn't as effective for me as meta advertising. So, I turned off a lot of things that weren't working as effectively for me. But I do know that the landscape has changed. There are far more advertising opportunities at that low cost side as well. And so I want to be a leading learner and be able to provide not just validated marketing strategy advice and advertising advice based on data that I can collect from external sources, but I want to test these things out for myself as well. So strap yourself in for that as well. You'll hear a lot more from me about list growth strategies and trying out a bunch of different list growth strategies in 2026, both paid and organic, so that I can share with you what I'm finding. I would also say that there is this very prolific content stream coming our way around using AI for list growth. People are searching using ChatGPT and AI tools. They're not Googling things anymore. That's actually not true. So we do see that the number one search platform is still Google. YouTube is still very high up as well, especially for search terms around how to or, things where people actually want to watch a video instruction on something. So people using YouTube as an information source, as a search engine is still quite high. We are seeing growth in people asking AI tools and AI resources, the things that they previously may have Googled, but it's still less than 20% of all searches. I think it's actually even less than that. I think it's 83% of all searches are still Google. Like the first thing people go to is Google. And so for me, playing with SEO, playing with Google advertising, and I will explore AI engine optimization as well as search engine optimization in 2026. I will stay open-minded to all of those different spaces. I'm very mindful of the environmental impact of using things like AI, so I will be giving it the appropriate portion of my time and attention compared to some of the other ones. But I'm really excited to be on this list growth mission and be the leading learner and then share as I go with you. So hopefully me being dogged in my pursuit of list growth is going to be very beneficial for you. And I also am very driven to do that because last year I did 2 big cleanups of my mailing list, and 90% of the inactive accounts that got cleared out of my mailing list came from experiments that I did that weren't great and that were a big distraction for me back in 2022, 23, even early 24. And so I'm actually still paying for a list size that I no longer have. My list shrunk a lot last year. So it's also a financial thing of I don't want to drop down my tier in my email list hosting. Instead, I'm just going to rebuild, and I'm going to rebuild using far more mindful strategies and far more aligned messaging, far more conscious, strategic growth with people who are excited to hear from me consistently, with people who are really looking for that rigorous, validated marketing and sales strategy advice, and who want to listen to the podcast, who want to grab my new free resources and tools. Some of the things that you can expect as a result of this in 2026 are I will be experimenting with more webinars and new freebies. I will be re-recording and re-rolling out some of the old favorites of my free resources as well, and giving them a really good refresh and update. So I'm very, very excited for that. I need to be very mindful. It's very early in the year, and yet I can tend to get a bit overzealous with my ambitions when it comes to creating resources, creating content, and I lock myself in a room for a few days at a time. And so I'm spreading it out throughout the year to make sure that it's sustainable, but there's just so much juiciness coming your way, which I'm very excited about. I think I've said very excited like 16 times when I've done this podcast already. So if anyone wants to count that up, I'm sorry. I will be relentless. That's the takeaway. And that means, dear listener, you'll likely be hearing about new webinars, as I said, and rolling out some of the old favorites, developing new freebies. I'm also hungry to hear from you what resources you want. What do you want to learn about? So please, please, please do reply to my emails and tell me what you want to hear. Tell me what you want to learn about. Tell me what resources you want me to make for you, because I am in creation mode and the energy is definitely snowballing, and I'm more and more creating space to be in that creation mode myself as well. Okay, so they are my 3 biggies that I'm changing in 2026. I'm going to be louder, more prolific, more often. I'm going to stay home more. And I'm going to be relentless in my pursuit of ongoing list growth and creating free resources in particular, and sharing them far more prolifically, using more different advertising platforms, and also really solidifying my meta advertising strategy. So I've got 2 resources that I'd love to share with you with this podcast episode. The first is a free one, and it was from Tashmas at the end of last year, but I didn't necessarily give it the airtime it deserved. But the people who did grab it were very excited by it and very happy with it. And that is my productivity bundle. I shared it as part of Tashmas in December, and I was going to close it off over the holidays. And then I thought, you know what? I'm going to do a podcast about it, and I'm going to give it another little opportunity for people to grab it before I close it, because I can see what a difference it's making for people. And even though it would normally be the level of free resource that I would charge for, and I was only giving it away as part of Tashmas, I think that especially as we step into this fire horse energy for 2026, the need for it is so much greater. So in the productivity bundle, what you'll find is my planning template. There's actually a set of CEO resources in there as well, some Canva templates that you can personalize for your own needs, and also the productivity and planning power up training, which I ran in 2025. And so if you would like to grab those, they will be with the show notes of today's episode at tashcorbin.com/501. And you can grab all of the items in the productivity bundle in one go if you go and grab the link in the show notes of today's episode. Now, part of the reason why I get so fixated on productivity in particular and having that alignment in your business plan is because for a lot of people, what they need to focus on in 2026 is actually narrowing their strategy, not broadening it out and looking for new things, and also redefining productivity, not by how many actions you can jam into your week, but actually by how efficiently you generate results with your actions. And I'm very results driven when it comes to productivity. If I can help you double your income in an hour, why would I help you double your workload for some miserable little extra boost in income that is nothing compared to what your core work actually generates for you. And as I said, I think that is my zone of genius, is looking for very efficient, very lean, very hyper-focused ways to be able to grow your income and grow your business, and helping to make those very easy for you to implement. And part of the way that I do that is through my productivity approach. So if you want to go and grab that, it'll be with the show notes of today's episode. And then the second thing I wanted to just quickly highlight is Kickstart. Kickstart is starting on the 12th of January, 2026. So if you're listening to this late, you may have missed the opportunity to join us. But if you are one of those people who listens to podcasts as soon as they come out, then I would love for you to come and join us for Kickstart 2026, starting on the 12th of January. Kickstart is a 5-day event that I run, in which we kickstart different components of your business with very strategic, very focused decision making and action taking. Can you pick up a theme on today's episode? So we have a 2-hour session each day, and it has a workshop at the start, then a break, and then we do co-working. We actually do stuff together live on the call. I've been running Kickstart for 3 years now, and it is one of the best events that I run each year. And I think part of the reason for that is we combine that powerful excitement and New Year's energy with focus and strategy. And particularly for online events, this one is spectacular at getting you focused, getting you fired up, and getting you finishing those early and critical projects, tasks, and activities that contribute so much to how the rest of your year unfolds. So if you'd like to come and join us for Kickstart 2026, all you need to do is head to the show notes at tashcorbin.com/501 and jump in and grab your space before the 12th of January. Now, as soon as you join, make sure that you go and grab the email and join the Facebook group, because we do have some pre-start activities going on at the moment. There's a bingo sheet for anyone who wants to get a head start on taking action. There are competitions and prize draws. It's gamified. So there's plenty for you to get started with straight away if you want to come in and join sooner rather than later. Now, I mentioned somewhere in this episode about this 2026 being the year of the fire horse. It's also 1 year in numerology. And I'm not a numerologist, nor am I an energetics expert or a Chinese astrology expert. But the number one message that I'm getting from all of those people that I follow is that 2026 is going to be about action taking. There's going to be a lot of energized action taking, and we're going to feel like we've got the energy on our side to make stuff happen and to get things initiated. The risk for us as entrepreneurs is that it's scattered. So the more we can focus and be strategic with that action, the more likely it is to contribute to taking us where we want to go, to aligning us with those goals that we want to achieve. So that's why I really wanted to showcase those 2 special resources for you in today's episode, because both of them actually keep you focused. They help you to narrow down. And as much as possible, if you can get clear on what exactly it is that is going to be the most effective use of your time, the more likely you are to actually align your energy with that, take action in the right places, and see the results. The risk with a fire horse year is that it's like you're opening the gate and the horses scatter and they're just all running off in different directions, most of them the wrong way. So we want to ensure that that fire horse energy is focused and it is strategic, and those 2 resources will help. The productivity bundle is free. Kickstart is a low-cost opportunity for us to work together for a week, and both you can find the links with the show notes of today's episode at tashcorbin.com/501. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode. Until next time, I cannot wait to see you shine. Happy New Year once again, and I'll see you on the next episode. Bye for now.